So, good morning. While I am away grading AP Bio, I should say reading AP Bio because you don't make any marks on the paper, I was going to give you an online lecture on biotechnology. And if you recall from my background, this was kind of really fun for me because this is what I was doing when I did my PhD. So this is actually a talk that I gave on biotechnology, and it kind of really falls in beautifully with what we're doing in the actual chapter 9 in our book. So these slides won't match your PowerPoint, but a lot of the ideas in that are here, and then I will add some extras in a little second talk. So I'm going to break this talk up into a few parts, so that way it's much shorter and easier files to manage when we're actually working on the class. So let's start off with what is biotechnology and what are some of the techniques that are employed by technology and what are some of the applications. And from this picture here you can see this would be a real miracle of genetic engineering if we could get one cow to produce all those different types of milk, including soy milk, which, as you should know, does not come from cows. So some of the advancements that I'm going to throw out there, and then you can decide for yourself later whether these are true or false. So we've actually cracked the code for the human genome. What we've really done is we've sequenced the whole genome, and we now know where every single letter is of every individual, but we don't know what it all means. So we've got a lot of work to keep doing with that. This next slide shows some of the advantages of genetic engineering. The very first genetically modified food were tomatoes that were actually engineered to be tastier and disease-free. So they were more resistant to diseases and they were actually tastier. And then there's a wonderful group of work called working with green fluorescent protein, and by actually cloning that gene into a cat, it's now expressing green fluorescent protein. We are actually going to do a lab using green fluorescent protein. It's plasmid called preglow, and if our experiment works, we'll actually make E. coli colonies glow green. The cat only glows in the presence of UV light, and we'll talk about that in class. Well, we've cloned all the genes to make man in the Human Genome Project, but now we need to figure out what we can do with that information. Would you like to design your own baby? Pick your own ideal child, choose what qualities you want. And I really like this cartoon because it basically is saying to the young lady that they paid a lot to give her those musical genes, and she's being really stubborn there, refusing to play the piano. Some of the more scary ones, or success stories, depending which way you look at it, are food that is more pest resistant. So they have put genes into food so that it can grow better, be more resistant to pests. But at the same time, people are wondering, is that toxic to us? And for the most part, it's definitely not. But there's always going to be some people who are going to argue on that point. And so here's just a nice picture of some vegetables. Imagine if we started presenting with blue strawberries instead of red, or square watermelons. All interesting ideas here. A big advantage would be in the vaccine field, in the field of vaccines. Imagine if we can make a vaccine edible, so we actually have that protein produced in a fruit, and then by just eating that fruit, you would get your vaccine. So that would then reduce the cost of shots, as well as places like the third world, giving them vaccines that will be much more available. And they are very close to working on that too. How about bacteria that clean up oil spill? Well, this is actually not anything that's outrageous and new, but there are definitely some microbes that eat oil. Oil is their food source. And so when we had the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico a couple of years ago, obviously those microbes that were already there suddenly started multiplying in large amounts because the food source was available. You could also engineer microbes and then take them to areas where there were oil spills and then release them, and they're obviously going to grow very happily, as we've learned in class already that bacteria loves to divide when its food source is present. And then, of course, the big controversial one, would you like to clone yourself? Have we cloned a human? And where would that go? And this is the Austin Powers movie. Some of you might be familiar with that.